Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. Franchise magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and cute shirtless guy from across the hall,
Alex Dandino.
I'm assuming most of our listeners are not on YouTube, so we'll...
I'm going to tell you right now, if I was shirtless doing this, everyone would turn it off immediately.
They're like, oh man, Two Bears, One Cave has really dropped in production value.
I see they're not working out anymore. Great. Okay. Cool.
They stopped hanging out with Rogan. They're not on all this. All right, before today's stellar entry into the October Mega Marathon, guys, we're about halfway through. I hope you're enjoying it. You know the deal. We enter the horror beast every October, 31 days, 31 pods. So we hope that you're new to the show. You're finding us this month for the October Mega Marathon. We love horror movies. You love horror movies. So we're about halfway through. Today, we are finishing with Scream 6. Because Scream is a franchise we covered on another Mega Marathon. So we like to clean it up. Yeah, so I hope you listened to Scream 5 yesterday. That's the thing. There's a lot of episodes coming at you. So keep your notifications on. Don't silence us. We appreciate that. Before we get started here, a little business. We are on Patreon. Patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. The first of the October Mega Marathon movies that is on Patreon exclusively is coming up this weekend. So you're going to want to go on over there. If you join us, we have a huge library of Patreon exclusive movies over there for you. Commentaries, our Tales from the Grift miniseries. If you like Tales from the Crypt and need more horror content this month, we got a lot of good stuff going on over there. So if you want to join us, patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. The patrons actually even vote on the movies they want every month. They can give us suggestions for months and theme, and we try to help build the show around those who support us the most. So you know we love you, patrons. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also want to thank those of you who are about to support us as well. Make sure you go to YouTube. You can see our Two Bears in the Saddest Cave
I'm
episodes
wearing a
over there.
T-shirt, by the way.
He is wearing a shirt. But if we get enough subscribers, we'll both take our shirts off. We're cheap like that.
Nope, I will not.
No, we
That's
cheap.
gross.
We cheap. Way less money than you think to see these teats. These milkers. That was too much.
Yeah, wow.
That was crude.
That
YouTube
was like
film out.
1997 Scream.
Yeah, this was like back when I was a teenager in the first Scream in the 90s, and we would say shit like that.
Milkers, you could say stuff. Yeah.
When I was a Stu, I was probably more of a Randy, but I like to think I was a Stu. The email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials you're on. Make sure two things you can do to help us out. Leave a 5-star rating and review everywhere you find the show. Write a sentence or two while you like us. 5 stars helps us algorithmically. We appreciate that greatly. Also, man, you're here. You're a horror movie fanatic. You obviously know friends that are horror movies or just movies at large fanatics. Send them an episode. Show them what we're doing. Let them know we exist, and we'll take it from there. We appreciate the help, guys. All right. Scream 6. Let's wrap this bitch out. We're not in a sequel. We're in a fucking franchise now, dude.
Yep.
We're in a franchise. So Scream 6 is an interesting... I actually took my mom to this. We saw it early matinee. It was out. I was like, oh cool, nice. We'll go see that. Yeah, my mom goes to the movie theater more than anyone you know. It's not close. Don't challenge me on that. My mom is a retiree with essentially Regal's movie pass, so she sees everything. It was 3D, which was a very weird addition to the Scream experience. It did nothing for me.
Oh,
but it was done very well. When you see
shots.
The titular like Scream 6 and they push past it onto the bridge,
right.
Or especially like the ladder over the alley, like that was pretty good use of 3D.
Okay. Cool.
But my mom had never seen one. And so she didn't have the experience of like the legacy characters and what any of it meant. And we loved it. I think you could make a case. This is my favorite Scream movie. And I think it even rivals the first one at points until what is the worst third act reveal in the history of the Scream franchise. Roman, you're off the hook, baby. Roman is no longer the worst fucking ending in the Scream franchise. But we'll get to the ending. We don't need to fucking do that right now.
Right.
But there are moments that this film is transcendent to me in its horror within the franchise. It has a lot of first times, right? It's pretty clever. It still fucking cheats with 6'3" Ghostface. Neither here nor there.
Correct.
But there are
Always
just
the cheat.
scenes that I love. The New York setting really is utilized to add great effect, right? It's got this awesome double cold open.
Mm-hmm.
I loved what this movie was doing. And the most important thing to me about this, I loved the growth and congealing of the core four. I thought they really built so well off of that first movie that I love the journey of this until the end, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, this fucking yacht is great. Oh my God, the Meg. Neither here nor there. So Alex, opening thoughts on Scream 6.
Yeah, so I was able to say Melissa Barrera, clearly. She heard my note from yesterday, and
She got in her time machine and upped it.
No, I think 6 is great. Yeah, the ending is, we'll get to that, but like it has a lot of good energy that I think is like this new, whereas 5 was, how do I put this? Whereas 5 was kind of this like, it's the rebirth, the legacy sequel, that kind of thing. 6 is like, in 6 you could assume, because when I saw the trailer for that, I was like, oh, so we're just doing Jason Takes Manhattan, but
which the kids are even watching in their apartment. Yeah,
which
you're
just
putting
like,
a nose on it. Yeah,
you get it. I mean, like, yeah, that's what you have to put a hat on a hat in a movie like Scream 6, so that's fine.
That's right. That's right.
But I think what's interesting about Scream 6 is instead of putting a hat on a hat, they really do take it like it's like, because they do the Brandy Meeks scene where they explain what movie they're in. They're in a franchise, but like, yeah, to me, I was like, oh wow, this is a fucking cool group of folks to go through another round of Scream movies with. Like, this is a good like group of people.
And it's a great separator because Gail and Dewey and Sid were always kind of forced together by being survivors of the first one.
Right. Yeah.
These were actual friends since childhood.
Yeah.
So the bond is just different and tighter, right? Like they're like that small dinner table, right, where Sam's losing it because they're like, she's the number one suspect.
Right. Right.
And they just really rally behind her in a very organic and cathartic way for the audience, right?
Yeah.
We watched the whole fucking movie. We know she didn't do it.
Right.
And so we're watching her get this fucking like online Jake Paul treatment. And we're like, well, that fucking sucks. No one wants to be Jake Paul without the Jake Paul experience, the money. Yeah. The money. That's really the thing, the money. So you can hire a bunch of
It's much easier to be Jake or Logan Paul when you have the money.
Yeah, and you can hire a bunch of gigantors all jacked up on Prime to keep drinks from flying in your face, right? So she's getting the problem child experience with none of the problem child bank. So it's hard, man. But when you watch them rally around her, right, it's a beautiful extra thing that I don't think any of the other Scream movies have,
it's a really pleasant addition, which is this group is really insulated by the fact that not only are they all survivors, but they're also they're survivors that are sticking together, as opposed to like, Scream, as opposed to like trying to run away from this. They're like, we have to like maintain continuity of us being around each other, because otherwise we're
we
get that they're fucked otherwise.
We get that brief window of kind of like classic stupidity, where it's like, why are you at a house party when you were just almost murdered? And it's like lightning; it'll never happen again. I'm like, no, you're Randy's niece, but whatever. Yeah, and Tara's just like, it's fine. I'll go with the cinnamon drink date rapist, and you're like, no. Right, but then immediately, once we get into like the mystery, they like kind of lose the stupidity I hear. Not all the way, but that's neither here nor there. Let's start with this. I fucking love the double cold oak because we have a couple first. Let's just list some first in this. First time that Ghostface is unmasked in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? First time that Gale and Ghostface have a conversation, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. First time we see Ghostface just fucking waste a dude with a shotgun. Right? So there is a new kind of vibe and energy to this, right? The kind of game of the movie is this cult of Ghostface.
Right. Well, it's like the rules essentially shift. Like
in the first scene, they change the rules completely. Mm-hmm. Because what they do is they take a classic... Shift. Yeah, we have another Richie situation, which is another set of fucking film losers who are going to fucking run around. And Samara Weaving, who is just fucking drop dead stunning. in this moment, because not only is she just so fucking charming with like they're talking about modern slashers and the chance for outsider art, and then she walks in the alley, and it's a fucking wonderful scene.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. And the brutality of her kill,
dude,
paired with watching him just stuff the Ghostface in the bag, walk down the street like nothing, and talk to Tara immediately. To me, that's just up there with, like, the Drew Barrymore scene is going to be damn near impossible to top.
Yeah.
That's the scene that launched the franchise. But this is great.
That cold open is the most brutal. That's probably one of the more brutal ones that it's been. Like, it's like Drew Barrymore's obviously, but like that was the meanest one it's been in a long time.
It felt really mean. This whole movie,
it's really hateful. We're
almost on the verge of like, it's almost too comical how brutal it gets. Like, there are scenes at the end where people are like, the twin brother Chad, he gets stabbed about 68 times.
Oh God. Dude.
And then somehow at the end, it's like, he's fine to still do the core four. And it's like, all right, well, if we're just going to, and like, Tara gets her gut stabbed out, but she's just sitting there talking about like the emotionality. And it's like, if stabbing doesn't do anything, I know it's Scream where like stabbing has never meant like you're dead.
Right.
But like, we're at the point now you can get stabbed like 60 times and it doesn't even like,
well, that's the thing is we're at the point now where it's like these people are invulnerable to stab wounds. Like they're going to have to address this in Scream 7, which was like, all right, knives don't work on us anymore.
Well, it's also like, besides it just puncturing your body, like your system is filling with your digestive disgustingness. Like, neither here nor there. But this opening scene before we get like the ending is so like, it just it degrades violence to a level where it's not anything anymore. It's just like, but really, this opening is fucking fast.
Yeah.
It's mean. It's brutal. Samara Weaving is screaming from like the depths of an actual dying woman, and it's fucking fast. So we see the immediate ramifications of stabbing in like a true brutal, simplistic way that the rest of the movie lacks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what is really fascinating about Scream 6 overall, but like it's brought to a head because, to this point, okay, these are movies my wife's willing to watch with me. Like, and like when we do October, my wife usually checks out for like 80% of these.
Oh,
movies.
Dude, my brother was interested. We played the Scream game at Gen Con, right? They have this game where, Ghostface talks to you, and it's like, hey, and you play a board game with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And my brother was so interested in it that he went back and started watching Scream. And he's not a movie guy, especially a horror guy.
Right.
And he loved it. He loves Stu. And so this is like, this has more,
a big, like,
more crossover appeal than the average horror movie.
I think what's fascinating is like, even my wife was, like, even Andrea was watching it and she was like, oh my God, like, it's not been like this in a long time. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, this is for real. Like,
well, Amy's constant note was she's like, why is Ghostface so superhumanly strong? And I was like, because Ghostface is built-in horror movie cheating.
Yeah.
Like when Gail Weathers' gigantic boyfriend gets fucking thrown through the bookcase by the movie specifically tells us that is Quinn who does that. Who's no more than 5'7" and a small, skinny person. I was like, I am about 260 pounds, used to be a bouncer, big enough guy. I couldn't throw the dead weight of a man that size, even 5 feet.
I think what's interesting about Scream 6 is, I'll say this is like the one thing that was interesting is, and I don't know if this was on purpose, and I don't know if you felt this way, but this is the first time I have felt what we ended up with in terms of who Ghostface is. Yeah. I at least was able to surmise 2/3 of them.
Well, we'll get back to the double cold open, but yes,
we'll
here's
talk
the
about
thing.
That, but
Ethan, the roommate, is a dead fucking ringer for Richie in the last
Absolutely,
one.
right?
So I didn't peg him as
1000%.
Richie. But immediately when the movie started, you go, that guy is 100% one of the Ghostface.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Quinn thing we'll get to in greater lengths in a minute. That is the dumbest thing that the Scream franchise has ever done. It's literally the dumbest, most insane. This man is a police officer, right? His daughter gets murdered. We see other police officers seeing him react and cry, right? the thought is that somehow between them getting all the people out of the apartment when the first responders come in,
Yeah.
right, that somehow she's able to walk out of that apartment without anyone noticing, her roommates, anyone. He's able to pull this ruse off. Or the other thing the movie seems to insinuate, which is fucking insane, is that she gets all the way to the fucking morgue without anyone knowing that she is expired, and then he steals her from the... Anyway, that is the dumbest,
It's
stupidest. It's such a cheat. It doesn't help the movie in any way, shape, or form. It's like Benedict Cumberbatch's I'm Khan. It's like, who fucking cares? Either we knew or we don't know who Khan is. And when she goes, it's me too, you're like, oh, the extra character who's been dead for an hour, like that we have no attack. All right, whatever. Neither here nor there.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where it was like, it's me. And like, yeah, I know. Like,
Ghostface has always been, Scream is always a movie that constantly fucking cheats with its kills and killer. And I actually think Scream 5, although it clearly cheats that Ghostface is over 6 feet tall and the girl is not.
Has the strength of a...
Yeah.
Has
has
the strength
superhuman strength.
Has the strength of a WWE performer.
Yeah, that's a Scream thing. You can get hit in the face full bore as a 160-pound teenage boy with a fucking cast iron skillet and keep going. Because when you put on the ghost face, you become this larger kind of symbology for the slasher film en masse.
Right.
So it is like a Shazam thing, right? You put on the ghost face and all of a sudden you're like imbued with the power of the gods.
It's somehow this armor that goes on. Not only does it protect you from literally every type of interference.
Like when Gale clearly fucking shoots Ghostface, probably, and he's like, I have bulletproof vest. You're like, that still can break ribs.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there, right? I think Scream 5 was so annoying. Like, Scream 5's cheating was so blatant.
Yeah.
And I think now okay, so every film is going to have a 5'5" or less person as a gigantic Ghostface who has superhuman strength. So now it's just built in that, like, it doesn't even matter.
It's that kind of thing because...
In Scream 4, both of them were fucking tiny.
Yeah. Well, like, when I watch Scream 6, all I could think, there's a Family Guy joke about Law and Order where the famous person in the credits is always the killer. Like, so when we were watching it, when I was watching Scream, I was like, who's the smallest person in this cast? And I guarantee you they're at least like at least one of them is the killer. And I was right.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the, like, it was between her and Hayden Panettiere. And I'm like,
yeah, because you knew it was going to be either Kirby or the police captain.
Yeah.
You knew for sure it was Ethan. There was no fucking doubt.
No doubt.
And then when they murdered the two female roommates, there's truly no doubt that it's Ethan now. like 1,000%. Because I was like, hot shirtless guy or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a weird, like, out of nowhere. Like, he's not utilized in the film enough.
Right.
To where it would make sense to weaponize him, right? Like, that's something the film could have done better, is make him, like, an uncomfortable ally more frequently.
Yeah.
So that he's possible. Because, I just never thought that for a second. So you knew it was Ethan, then it's like, which of the fucking old people is it?
Yeah, what's
neither here nor there. But it is cool because the movie exists in this. It could have even been Gale. They even said she would have made a great Ghostface. Better than what we got. The movie hinges on that the killers are Richie's fucking family, right? And that they know he's the killer, so they started the rumors to fucking besmirch. And we're not doing the ending yet. I'm just setting a groundwork.
No, yeah, I get it.
And so meeting that through this, they hook up with these little fucking film nerds who they weaponize their wealth to buy all of this Scream evidence. So the entire Stabbed franchise, they have all the Ghostface masks, they have all the robes, the murder weapons, all this evidence, right? And they have this theater where this cult of Ghostface, right? We're kind of putting a visualization to the... Because even the first kill, that guy's taller than Samara Weaving when he kills her, and then is clearly not when he takes off the mask.
Tony Revolori is short.
Yeah, like maybe 5'6", if he's wearing, like, Doc Martens.
I've met that guy in real life. He is a tiny man.
You're also a gigantic guy, but... True. So maybe your perspective, your perception is...
Perhaps it's forced perspective. Who knows?
My favorite thing is that my wife is convinced you're like 5'9" or 10.
Me?
Yeah. My wife has told me this multiple times that she's like, Alex is for sure shorter than us. And I was like, I assure you he's not. Like, he's a very big guy.
Just because, listen, Amy, just because you and your ET fingers are scarier than everybody else.
Yeah, Slender Amy.
Yeah.
Your fucking Amy mansion in the woods.
Amy with your, Lil Marfan syndrome.
She
just
walks
relax.
around with her fucking 5'11" frame, just judging men everywhere. I bet you're tired. Yeah. Well, it's like you've stood next to Alex. You've hugged him. You've known him for years. Like, he's bigger than me.
It's because, but
yeah, she just wants to take shots at. She likes to bring us down.
Whatever, Amy.
That's Anywho, neither here. Amy could be Ghostface. She's 5'11". Like, she could.
It's true.
Neither here nor there.
She also She also does great cardio. So very much possible.
Great cardio. She could not pick our fat bodies up and throw us through bookcases.
That's true.
Neither here nor there. We got to stop worrying about the physics. Ghostface is Shazam now, where small children put on the robe and they get the power of Hercules, the speed of Solomon, whatever. Shazam!
Are you doing
Yeah,
this?
Shazam!
Are you trying to remember?
And then all of a sudden,
Shazam?
they get to be 6'3" with a surfer body, but fucking throw people around like they're prime Bam Bam Bigelow. Neither here nor there. Ghostface is cheating and it's stupid, and we have to accept it. It's fine. But what I love, right, is the double open. We go back to this film nerds thing, and it's like they've been practicing. They've been buying up evidence with their wealth. They're starting this. We're going to finish Richie's film. Richie has become, because this is the thing that doesn't quite make sense in the movie, is that a couple of them know Richie did it, right? Like, it was like the immediate media narrative was that Richie was trying to finish a film, blah, blah, blah. Right. So these nerds know that Richie did it, and they don't accept that Sam could have done it, even though they're film nerds, and you think they'd think that's a better story, but they might be in cahoots with Dylan Muldermy already.
Dermot Mulrooney.
Mulrooney, whatever the fuck his name is. And so, so they know the real story, and they're going to finish Richie's movie. So now we have not only this cult of Stab, right? The Stab has become this epidemic, this pandemic of people thinking they can change horror movie fates, right? Now it's even more than that, where there's this cult of the filmmaker. It's almost like a nod to trying to make a post-Wes Craven Scream.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of cool. In that opening scene, right, where that kid's in his room, yes, it's kind of a silly, like, he's playing hot and cold with his roommate, but they're, like, talking to each other. It's so well done.
Yeah. Like,
and the payoff is awesome.
Is great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ghostface saying that, because that dude in the head, or the fridge, right, with the beheading, which we hear later in the franchise speech, who gives a fuck about movies? And gets his ass.
Good. Well done.
And you're like, oh my God, double cold open. Who gives a fuck about movies? Now Ghostface is wasting people in bodegas with shotguns. You're like, this is a different world that we're entering.
Right.
And I fucking love where this movie's taking off, man.
Well, I think what's kind of interesting about, because I liked that line too, like, who gives a fuck about movies? Because what's interesting is we're now in an era where, and really we got through this movie where it was less about like movie tropes, and there's still that flavor in there, but this is truly like, we're trying to reset it so that it feels like an original slasher film. Like, it's not just these legacy movies, these sequels, that kind of thing. What we're really trying to do is reset the story, reset the game, so that you can surprise your audience again. Not just like, it's really well constructed and well built.
Even the basics of it's someone close to you and in the friend group. Rip that out. It's not someone close to them, or they're in the friend group, but not really. They're the new people. They're not the core four. They're not in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I guess neither was Roman, but whatever. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It's just, it has a great vibe, right? I like Sam starting off. She's trying to seek help, and Tara won't. I love Tara's line, right? I'm not going to let what happened to me for 3 days dictate the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You're like classic young person behavior. Because they're acting like idiots at a frat party, right? Like, I'll go up with date rape Fred or whatever. And then you're like, yeah, like when I was young, I made terrible choices too.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And she even says, if I want to hook up with an asshole, that's my right. And I bet that had I survived something like that, I would have been 10 times more fucking insane than I was.
I think it's bizarre. Like, I think this is the interesting thing about this one, because it is sort of like a setup the way Scream 2 is with their college again. is she's doing the exact opposite of Sydney, which is like Sydney doesn't take chances. Sydney goes to class. Sydney dates a nice guy. Like these kinds of things that I think we took for granted for Scream 2. She's doing exactly what college kids would do because, yeah, she's like, I'm not letting 3 days dictate the rest of my life. Like she's having the appropriate reaction as opposed to, I don't think any of us realize like Sydney is kind of taking it for a ride. It's kind of fascinating. Like when you look at it in hindsight, you're like,
she's
wow.
so above it, even though she did it like 5 times now. She wasn't in 4, I think. So it was like 3 or 4 more. Or was she in 4? Yeah, she is.
She's in all of them.
So she's in all 5 until this one. She didn't think she was getting adequate compensation. So fucking shame on you. Shame on you, movie.
Shameful.
Although they didn't need her, right? But it is like, yeah, looking at Sam now as our new Sydney, it does kind of bring it. Sydney becomes this almost mythological figure, right? This mythological final girl who's like behind the curtain now.
Yeah.
Right? Like she saw the Wizard of Oz and she's like, fuck it. And she broke the rules and now Sam is more beholden, or she's breaking the rules, but from the I see my insane dad who is the villain of the first one.
Yeah.
So there's this really fun, like, you need therapy. I don't want therapy. Hey, someone got killed by Ghostface. She's like, pack up, we're leaving, let's go, we're survivalists. And her sister being like, we're not throwing away my education. I was like, hey man, you can skip classes. I was the king of it. Yeah, it's fine. Take a long weekend off with Chad. Be fine. Like, just be cool. But it's almost as if the movie has this, like, all the Scream movies have, they're trying to be realistic, but then they're constantly horror movie cheating. And it does feel like there's this supernatural, like almost you can see the hand of authorship moving things in a way that feels unnatural, which kind of adds to this unnerving. It's like, why would she say, I don't want to leave town when there's another Ghostface murder? Of course you would. I don't care how militant of a fucking hardcore, like, I'm not going to be defined by trauma person. You'd be like, it's fine to, we can go to Cape Cod for the weekend.
There's a difference between, like, I'm not leaving town and I don't have any common sense. Like, there's a difference.
Right,
like,
which we clearly fucking jumped the shark on that line immediately.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because the very next moment is like they find Sam's thing at the crime scene. It's like, all right, let's walk to the police station without the help of all of our friends, without Quinn's dad, who's a cop, saying, hey, could you come pick us up? Like, there could be a ton of media. There could be. So there are these dumb decisions that don't register as super dumb until you watch it again. Because what I love about 5 and 6 is they're really fun to watch a second time, right? Mm-hmm. Like seeing how they're moving, watching how the Ghostface are interacting with the conversations and moments is really well done in these two.
Yeah.
But yeah, them just walking on the sidewalk without, she's supposed to be heavily armed all the time. She doesn't have any of her shit. And then they go into a bodega and it's just like all these New Yorkers like, hey, what's up, pal? You want to fight? And every time they put their arms out, they get stabbed in the neck. Yeah. The guy goes for his keys and gets stabbed. It's like, what are we doing here?
I got to be honest with you. I've worked a lot in New York, and I've never met a single New Yorker who would just clock Ghostface and be like, sit the fuck down, dude.
It would have, this is old now, but we recorded this a long time ago. Yeah, it should be like hopping on, right? Like that famous video just came out of, there are these 5 fucking assholes that jumped a security guard in Montgomery.
Yep.
And they're like, he's like, hey, move your boat. I'm the captain of one of these big river boats. So like, fuck you. We can do whatever we want. We don't have shirts on and wear cargos and probably love country music. And they start jumping the shit out of this guy. Yeah. And next thing you know, every dude in the area is coming in and a fucking huge brawl erupted. And everyone's like, oh, those guys got their ass whipped. And I'm like, well, don't fucking jump a security guard and maybe you won't get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's how people who have seen fights, you don't do the talking, you don't do the hands out. You fucking, if this is a lesson from your pal Griffey, who is a bouncer, who's seen a lot of combat. If you believe it's going down, do 2 things. Run away. There's no shame in that. Fighting is a terrible thing. You should never take it lightly. Run away. If you're not running away, you try to fucking incapacitate and hurt someone fast. You don't fucking do the old time John Wayne, like the fucking, what is that? The Irish wedding movie, The Quiet American, whatever. You don't fucking fight through the street for 4 hours. You fucking end that fight as fast as you can or you run away. Yeah. And so I don't think this Scott Ian looking guy is like, hey, I'm a roadie from Anthrax. What's up? You're going to fucking throw your bag at that guy and beat the shit out of him. Especially once you realize it's a 58-year-old man.
Right. Besides the Ghostface,
that scene is awesome though. But this this is the Scream thing. You see the authorship of people are not acting
scenes.
like people.
Yeah.
But it works because the reality of Scream that it's supposed to play in is never a thing. It's like we're watching a soap opera where we get to choose our own adventure.
Yeah. I think that's the thing about Scream being in New York is this isn't real New York. This is movie New York.
This is movie New York, where that guy's a stereotype of what us Midwesterners think New Yorkers are.
Yeah, exactly. It's a version of New York that everyone else but people from New York.
And when we see that guy get killed, we're like, ha! If only he had Midwestern politeness.
Because there's so many people who absolutely That's the benefit though of movie New York is movie New York has the trappings of near danger. But what it doesn't have is like the toughness of people who are actually from New York, where like a bodega guy has a gun loaded behind, ready to shoot someone.
Bodega guy doesn't go, hey, and give you a warning. That guy's fucking shooting you in the back.
That's it.
Yeah, you don't have a shotgun under your counter unless you are prepared to use it.
You're ready. As
but
soon
no,
as someone
this
shows
is
up with a
not
ghost.
like 70s movie New York.
Yeah.
That was like real danger New York.
Yeah, if this was 70s Scream, if this was Scream 70s, I mean, the movie would be over in like 10 minutes. Like,
yeah, because you have people who are just in a reality. This is not a reality. There is authorship here.
Yeah, yeah.
The movie says it's Ghostface. We see it's someone bigger. Mm-hmm. Neither here nor there. The rest of, how did you feel when Kirby popped back up?
I'm fine. Like
I don't think I cared enough about Scream 4 that
I think that's the thing is Scream 4 is such
But if there was a character you liked in that, it was Kirby.
She's this. I didn't realize that Kirby's this like fan favorite from the series, from the franchise. Like I didn't know.
A lot of people really rallied around Scream 4 because when it came out, this is what Richie was attacking in Part 5.
Right.
Is that they disrespected the whole franchise, and I think a lot of people rallied around that movie because it was fine.
Right, it was fine.
I like the Ghostface reveal. I think people rallied harder around it than you'd imagine.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that Kirby was like a big like. There were Kirby stands out there. Did I use that phrase right? That's correct.
I think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's good. I didn't realize there was a big Kirby hive. So like when she shows up, I was like, oh. I mean, all right. Like, she's been stabbed once.
Scream
so
4
cool.
is like the most forgettable one to me, other than the Emma Roberts ending. Because you're like, Part 3 is just so Scooby-Doo, I remember it. And Scream 2 is like the second most forgettable. You're like, all right, it was fine.
Oh, Scream 2 is awesome.
I like Scream 2, but it's also like fairly forgettable if you get away from it a ways.
It's one of those things where, again, I think that... I think Scream again. I think everyone has the ones they like, and this is why I think the Kirby thing didn't faze me, or also was just like, all right, you're only doing this because you need to throw the scent off literally everyone
If Kirby was not in the movie, we all would have known who Ghostface was immediately.
Like it's one of those things. Like she is a perfect like throw the scent off person because. There's at least a seed of doubt with Kirby.
She was the horror movie obsessive.
She
could have
FBI
played the "What's
now.
Your Favorite" horror movie thing.
Right.
She's
She's
5'5", so it's perfect to have a fucking 6'6".
She's 5'5", so clearly when she puts on the suit, she turns into that little kid from Power Rangers Turbo.
Yeah.
Into a
when we see Ghostface in the subway standing, taller than everyone's shoulders, which is not Quinn, but it is Quinn.
It's her.
It's fine. Yeah. Neither here nor there. I gotta let this thing go.
But it's hard to let go because
I enjoyed Kirby.
I'll tell you why though. Yeah. This is why you can't let it go. And this is really the problem with doing it. This is really the problem with actually let's finish this Kirby talk as this filters into the ending and why the ending doesn't work for me. So we can finish talking about Kirby.
There's a lot of reasons why the ending doesn't work. But
we can. But Kirby's a good plant to throw in this movie. I don't know if it necessarily works because it's like not emotionally
I think you see some good run, like her crushing fucking chili dogs, and she talks about how there's a Ghostface division of the FBI, so we're expanding mythology.
Right.
I was never like as into Scream before, so it just didn't hit with me. But I thought she was really good in the movie. I liked her scene with the twin sister, right? Where they're doing the like, oh, you're the new horror movie nut, and they like respect. You're like respect, man. Like they're in on. I thought that was great. There was that little line where fucking old cops like she's insane. She got let go of the FBI field office, and you're like, that's the moment in the film where you're like, all right, I know exactly that it's not Kirby anymore. But it's a cool moment because you see Kirby reacting to it. Right. Like, oh, fuck, okay. I thought it was just really... I thought she was well done. I don't know that Gale's did anything for me in this. Because I was thinking, I was like, this is kind of the Dewey moment from the one before. Mm-hmm. I think Gale, while we've always liked her, and we've liked Courtney Cox's Gale, we don't like her like we like Sid and Dewey. She's always kind of the sleazy... She writes the book she's not supposed to, and then she comes back and she's like, mea culpa. And she's like, I'm back. And we're like, all right, but we know Gale's always going to Gale. Yeah. So, like, when Gale's fighting and gets stabbed, it honestly didn't resonate with me at all. I mean, right? The scene is fine. I liked her talking to Ghostface. That was cool. I liked her gun safe, but the fact that room didn't have, like, hey, you can't get in here. Yeah. Like there's a back to the room where her gun safe is. And the fact that then she's like, I'm coming out. It's like, but again, this gets back to, so this is, let's just do this talk right now. I think this movie really solidified for me how I view Scream moving forward, which is you look at this, it reminds me of like Deadpool sometimes does this, right? Where they'll acknowledge the comic book artist. The story, and you'll pull back to see the guy writing it. Scream is very much like that. Like this is a fever dream and some alien boy somewhere who's writing fucking campy slasher films. And so Gale can't sit in that room and be smart because she has to, or Cabin in the Woods does a great job of this, right? There are these machinations of horror movies that the gods demand. Right. And so Gale coming out is insane. Ghostface throwing her gigantic boyfriend through a bookshelf is insane. Yeah. That's not an IKEA bookshelf. She got Gale Weathers money. Yeah. These things are insane.
Yeah, this is a loft in the Upper West Side. Like she's got money. It's fine.
The fact that she knocks Ghostface out and could just easily grab her gun and do the shoot him in the head like we learned last movie. Yeah. But again, you have to. So I think that the supernatural, like, there's another world behind it, an authorship, right? That lets them fucking grow to gargantuan heights and power when they're Ghostface and Gale being a fucking moron.
Well, I think that
it works strangely to the advantage of the films because they are so meta to begin with.
Right. I mean, it works. Like, it reminds me, like, after 3, all of them sort of start to become that Looney Tune, the Duck Amuck Looney Tunes cartoon where
3 was the Freddy's Dead of the franchise where you're like, all right, we've gone a little too far in one direction.
Where like Daffy Duck is constantly looking at the camera being like, are you going to do this or what? Or like, are you going to write it or how are we going to like, so.
I'll share a good story with you real quick. So my buddy who I think you met, he used to play on my softball team, Dave Coggeshall, right?
Oh yeah.
He hired me for 1,000 Ways to Die. He just wrote Orphan First Kills a year ago. His wife's movie Bed Rest came out. Awesome couple, great writers. He was in the writer's room for the Scream TV show. Right. And the weirdest, most tragic choice the Scream TV show made was they had that fucking god-awful mask. Like, it's such a fucking embarrassingly bad mask, right? Yeah. And I remember talking to Dave when I saw the shit come out. I was like, dude, I'm bummed, man. I love Scream. Why did you fucking do this, like, melted Ghostface mask? Like, it looks like shit. Like, and he said, the producer specifically said, is that Ghostface is as tied now to the Scary Movie franchise and like beer commercial parodies, and that it was no longer a scary image. And I was like, honestly, I think you could even lump in by Scream 3. Yeah. He had become a Scooby-Doo villain, and so like it had lost its power a little bit. And I think Scream 4 bringing it back was awesome. And this movie really bringing back all of the iterations of the Scream mask, except for the Scream TV show. I thought was a cool addition. Yeah. Right? And so I thought that was funny that the producer specifically told him we're not doing that Ghostface mask because people will not take it seriously enough. They'll laugh at it.
I mean, I think
which now has been proven to be fucking lunacy.
Well, that, and I think the fallacy of like people won't take it seriously is like, do you know what the franchise is? Like, to say, like, oh, people won't take the Scream franchise serious. Like, this is a series that, like, from the jump didn't take itself seriously.
Jason wearing a hockey mask is kind of childish. We should not do that. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah. Like, it's doing? Like a weird...
These iconographies are core to what they are.
Yeah. Like, it's a strange thing to... We've talked about this in other...
It's trying to outsmart the room. It's the comic book thing. Everyone they're like, I'll get my big break in comic books by deconstructing something you like and telling you everything about it sucks. And you're like, we don't need that.
Right, exactly.
Like, we know all the shit you're going to write. It's not clever.
Right. No, that's a great way to put it. Like, the bona fides of writing great comic book stories, you get a license to deconstruct after you've written really great comic book work.
Yeah.
Like,
if you forget to construct again...
Yeah, if you forget how you built it...
You're just doing the jokes we've all done at the shop 50,000 times.
You can't pull something down if you've never built one up, you know? Like, I think there's a whole thing. And I think the same thing goes for Scream. Like,
and the Scream show's actually not that bad. It's pretty solid show.
But. Scream is a meta-narrative on all of our collective obsession with this genre of movie. Like, that's exactly what it's about. Like, it's not about... Look, I mean, but... It's, you know, and then it's about the reflection of society when it comes to horror films and violence in general. Like, every single iteration of this movie and of the show, it's always about how this reflects society. Like, that's how horror films work. Mm-hmm. That's why horror films are even effective, you know, are effective literature in any way. Sorry, I don't know if literature is the right word, but like effective pop culture, because they reflect the world outside our window in a lot of ways.
Outsider art. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what horror films are supposed to do.
Two things we forgot to talk about that I'd like your opinion on.
Sure.
This has two amazing Ghostface scenes. The fucking apartment raid. Well, awesome. One year it's dumb. You're like, why don't the 5 of them turn around and beat the fuck out of this one Ghostface?
Right.
Like, I know he took your knives.
Just
fucking grab anything on the wall and start chucking it at him. It's a 5-on-1.
Yeah.
That's insane. I know they're scared and they're young, but the core 4 have seen this before. They should all turn around in unison and fucking mash that dude's brain.
They should know.
But that fucking ladder scene...
That ladder scene is awesome.
A stunner.
That is like an all-timer within
like a pure fucking series. Stunner. And absolutely. That was really cool in 3D. That was the one where I was like, I'll give you the 3D on that. And the subway scene was good in 3D too. The subway scene, at first I didn't like it. Because I was like, we've been on those things. There's no way someone wouldn't notice. But then you're like, honestly, like in those places, I feel like you do shut down and you're like, don't see nothing, don't do nothing.
You won't know. You wouldn't notice shit unless no one else is in the car, and even then, it's a little hard. Like to me,
that scene is fucking awesome, though.
It was interesting. Like, I thought the subway scene might be the closest to like traditional, like horror pacing that Scream has ever gotten. And I was like, wow, this is effective as shit.
The apartment's like an explosion. That's like a
that's a
slow ticking
really
clock.
Good. It was really good. Both of them were just like that. That ladder scene is so fucking cool, man.
I mean, like, to me, that
is a way to use some shit.
My heart tells me still that the garage door scene of Rose McGowan is the fucking best kill.
It's the best
because it's so fucking insanely hilarious.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably my favorite kill they've ever done.
I mean, the ladder
it's so fucking mean.
Well, I think that's
brutal.
The thing. We keep coming back to this point.
He takes his time to just like watch.
Yeah.
Like he's playing with it. Like there's a cruelty to it. There's like a real, this isn't, because again, the movie gets into this like knives don't actually hurt people anymore. Like you can get stabbed like 55 times and it's fine. Like when she falls and that thump hits, that is like the meanest thing I've ever seen in this franchise.
I mean, I think that to me is like the headline of Scream 6 is just, it's mean. Like
both
it's mean.
5 and 6 are like, there's a cruelty to them.
The cruelty that, it's the cruelty that echoes from number 1, which I think is really cool because it does have this constant look back at the past. I like it a lot. I like that.
It's a fine line though, because we go from Stu and Billy stabbing each other. I'm getting woozy here, man. Like, you know, knives actually affect people. Mm-hmm. To like, I'm fine. Let's talk and fucking
I'm
drop
fine.
off balconies. Yeah.
I'm fine. This 6-inch blade went straight through my vital organs,
Like,
but I'll walk.
yeah, Sam just gets stabbed in the shoulder, but yeah, she's still like one hand deadlifting her sister. And it's like, all right, we're action figures now. Again, we're getting in this it's almost like if you remember the movie Clash of the Titans, where they just move fucking Perseus and monsters around the board. That's what Scream is now. These are comical archetype mythical figures, not human beings anymore.
Right.
But anywho, neither here nor there. All right, so the thing we've been saving up to, we're kind of running long. We're excited to talk about this one. As much as we loved everything in this movie, this ending is the fucking
trash.
worst. It's the worst ending in the Scream franchise. It's so fucking dumb. It's so fucking bad. Like, not even like, let's just start at the surface level. The choice of the killers is so uninspired and bad, right? It's Richie's dad and his family. The one you kind of peg that one pretty fucking fast.
Yeah, you're like, got it.
The sister Quinn does nothing to add to it, except for now, if you notice, 6 movies and now we're back to 12 Ghostface. So we filled the Roman slot, right? And mythologically, we're back to the 2 per movie, which I kind of like that.
Well, that was like,
but
that's always
they're
my
sisters,
thing.
and then Dylan Mulder. Like, it's so uninspired. It's so uninteresting. It doesn't bubble up from anything other than he's like, I was mad. I knew my son was a serial killer, but now we're mad because he was my first. It's so.
I think this is like
boring.
This is the
and
problem
lazy.
I have with the ending and just overall, like the concept of 2, because it works for Scream 1. And kind of works for Scream 2 because you're not paying attention to it.
They're not the match made in heaven, but it's good.
However, like, the problem is that 3, like, the family of ghost faces, you're just like, this is where we start looking at the size of these people, like, a little more conspicuously. I'm like,
And the age and the...
like,
but again,
that
like,
tiny girl
Laurie Metcalf
stabbed
was
that
fucking ghost-facing, so, like, come on.
I was like, come on, guys. What's going on here? Like,
Age has never mattered to go... Again, Shazam!
Yeah. There's a lot of...
Shazam! But it's so uninspired and so uninteresting. The film nerds, right, who, like, Richie becomes now their patron saint.
Yeah.
And they're all like, this is how you break into the industry. That was at least an interesting motivation. The fucking dad, like the Ethan and Quinn is like embarrassingly tacked on.
Stupid. Like
it's so fun, and they don't even get a chance. They're just like, that was our brother. Like, they don't really get anything beyond that.
Well, and then
it's so bad.
But the ringleader being Dermot Mulroney turning in.
I mean, this is one of the worst performances ever. He's essentially doing
like
Cesar Romero from Batman 66. Watch it again and put that in your mind. You'll never unsee it. Where he's like
Dermot Mulroney is a great actor. I've seen him do a lot of shit. Like a
lot of great actors have had embarrassingly bad performances.
And this is like one of those things where I'm like, are you?
He did not
doing this.
I don't believe he ever went back and watched a Scream movie. I don't think he got the assignment. He's pretty good when he's the basic cop.
Or
he's great at that.
Or he watched like the movie clip on YouTube of Stu and Billy explaining their whole thing. He's like, "Oh, manic, got it. All right, now I know the assignment." And he like turned it off and went to work.
Him doing his like his laughs.
It's weird.
It's one of the worst acting choices I've ever seen. And again, I used to act.
Strange.
I know how fucking hard it is to do any of that, to make choices and put it out there.
I have no problem with people making their choices.
I mean, he's a great actor who's achieved a lot. I blame the directors.
It is so
the director should have stopped him and said, "Hey, man, I appreciate the work you've done or not done. I appreciate you being on set and lending the Dylan Muldermeat hive to whatever the fuck his name is, the Dylan hive to the movie. Could we get another take? Like, can we just try it without the fucking Batman 66 villain laughs?"
I would have, if it was me, if I was Radio Silence, I would have sat there and been like, "Hey, I appreciate that you watched what I'm assuming equates to 4 minutes of the first movie, and
this isn't your Joker. You're not gonna win a fucking Oscar. Like, let's try something else."
The reason that you're here making this movie with us is because you're Dermot Mulroney. So if you can just do the Dermot Mulroney thing that you've done in countless other movies, and you're a great actor.
For decades now.
Do your thing. I don't need whatever it is that you did based on the Billy Loomis thing.
You're fucking sad that your son got murdered, and you don't need to cackle because you tricked him into the kill room.
Yeah, it's not a, we're not doing. Yeah, that's it. There's your motivation.
Such a fucking horrendously bad series of choices. And the action of it is fucking stupid, right? The mini stabs and Tara saying, "Let me go." Like, that's metaphorical, and she's gonna fucking do a from the heavens Macho Man elbow drop. That's fucking stupid. The one when she shoots Quinn, that's great.
Yeah.
The scene after that, though, is it reminds me of when Batman smiled in the first Justice League when Superman showed up. And you're like, that's the lowest point in the history of Batman.
Right.
There's never been a moment where Batman was so ashamed as a character as that moment, right?
Right.
So misunderstood, so misportrayed. When Dylan Muldermy, or whatever his name, I'm not going to get it right once.
Dermot Mulroney.
Dermy. I just called him Dermy. Dude, whatever.
When Dermy
but whatever. That fuck, he doesn't deserve the full name after this performance. He sees his daughter get shot, and she pulls the trigger, Sam. No bullets, right? He still has a gun that absolutely works, which we see a minute later. And she screams and charges him. And what does his dumbass do? And he charges her, still with his gun pointed out. Doesn't shoot her to the next scene, after a concussion, he's fucking wasting Ghostface mannequins headshots. That is one of the saddest, most pitiful moments I've ever seen in a movie. They fall, and then it wakes up, and now it's in it
for a movie.
Hey, you're in the Ghostface movie.
For a movie that really put in the work, and I mean,
really put in the work.
Fucking movie.
This movie rivals Scream 1 about 80% of the way through the movie.
Yeah, it ends so spectacularly badly, and a lot of just bad horror math is being done, and you're just like, oh my god, just fucking
the action
kill
is
these people.
So fucking bad and there's no impact. I mean, Kirby's getting shot, they're all getting shot and stabbed, and it's like it doesn't matter at all until Tara stabs that virgin in the face. He has that fucking ridiculous line, "I've always wanted to stick something in you, Tara," and you're like, ugh.
You're like, ugh, this isn't 97.
It's just like the 40-year-old version. He's like, yeah, her tits felt like a bag of sand. Yeah. Bag of sand?
But that's, again, one of those lines that you put in a movie, and you're like, oh, dude, what era are you in?
Well, also, you're like, he's already Ghostface, and he's Richie's brother. We don't have to hate him anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, I get it. He's a scumbag. It's fine.
He's an incel. We get it.
Again,
it's over.
It's a hat on a hat. Just stop.
My roommate was an alpha, literally named Chad. And you're like, why is the script hurting me now? Too?
Oh, no, I'm getting really stabbed.
I think the sins of the action, the layout, if you actually stop and think geographically, too, about how and when the Ghostface are getting in that building.
Dude.
It's so, but again, this is that mythological thing where you have to, set that aside. It's such an offensively bad series of choices across the board. Yeah. I can't say anything nice about that except for at the end when she's like, hey, she kills him with the TV that killed Stu. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's happening in this moment is Billy's like, let's get our kill on, Team Loomis. And you're like, fuck. And then Tara, puts it on, or Sam puts it on, and when she stabs Muldermott 50 times in each arm, which is like, why are you stabbing arms? That's so weird and mean. And again, doesn't do anything to him apparently. And she's kind of smiling.
Yeah, she's
and then Tara's sad, and so she's like, no, I'm better than that. And then Tara's like, well, I don't know. And she's like, cool, and stabs him in the eyeball. After Tara, by the way, who cannot morally high-hand her, because we just watched Tara stab Ethan and twist in his fucking throat.
Yeah.
So maybe Tara's not the moral authority that she thinks she is in this.
I think this is something that, okay, I do want to say this. I don't.
It's so stupid.
I like Scream 5 and 6.
I love Scream 6.
What I don't like about Scream 5 and 6 is this legacy of Loomis's daughter is one of those things where I'm like, dude,
it could be
I can't do any more Skeet Ulrich de-aging Ghost.
Whatever kind of Insta filter they use. But that's what I mean. I thought they used it much better in the first one.
But
than in this.
Regardless, I also just think it's a story point. Like, for her to just, like, constantly see him is one of those things where I'm like, hey, stop.
Well, it's also
it's
like the cute boyfriend. Like, if he's in the movie to do a function, hot shirtless guy's in the movie to be a possible Ghostface suspect.
Sure.
They never once do anything in the movie that actually makes him a suspect. Right. He's totally wasted, except for looking insanely handsome and having cheekbones.
Of course.
Right? Skeet Ulrich in this movie is doing nothing. It's not utilized like it was in the first one in any way, shape, or form to, like, add any value.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
ultimately,
I mean, we don't have to
sit here and fucking scream at everyone.
No, and I don't think it's not a bad thing. It does not, like, for me personally, doesn't work for me.
I think there are people that really love Scream 6, and they're going to disagree with us.
Sure,
I would just say this is worse than Roman. This is bad.
It's not great.
Because I would say the first one is clearly the best reveal. I think Scream 4 is a great reveal, actually. I like that it's Emma Roberts trying to be the next Sid. I thought that was great. I think then you go with Scream 5. Then you go with Scream 2 because it's Billy's mom. Then you go Scream 3, which is Roman because it's not as shitty as this. This is the worst of all the 6 Ghostface reveals.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is,
I mean, bar none.
Like, this is embarrassingly bad from motivation to acting to machinations. The only good thing about the ending is the setting is very cool.
Yeah.
The setting for it is very cool. But god damn, like, what a fucking piece of shit ending. And it's okay. It is. It's like driving, like, I don't know what everyone's dream car is, right? A Porsche 911. My neighbor is getting one. He's having his midlife crisis, and he's going to be like a Porsche 911 guy now. And I was like, it'd be like finally getting that out of the lot and being like, hooray! And then crashing into the back of the manure truck like it's Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Like, this is so fucking painfully bad for a movie that I absolutely loved. Like, don't get me twisted. I loved the journey of this movie.
It was a great movie, man.
Like, the franchise monologue was great. Like, everything about it I love. I love the Core 4 shit.
Uh-huh.
And then it just abruptly becomes the shittiest ending in the franchise, which is, it's weird. Because like you said, they clearly did a lot of amazing work. And they kind of fucked up the most important part of a Scream movie.
So
here, we have to do 2 more things. Predictions for Scream 7. Radio Silence is now out, and Chris Landon is in.
Right.
I think he's a good fit for this kind of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll have the touch that it'll be fine. We're still doing the story of this family, I'm guessing, the Core 4. So I'm not as worried about Radio Silence leaving, even though I think they did amazing work. The best work since Craven, for sure. They did an amazing job. Even with this dog shit ending. Predictions for the next movie. I think this has trilogy vibe written all over it, and then a respite. So because I was thinking, I was like, what's happening in horror that they could address? And it could be the elevated horror. I have this sneaking suspicion that the Ghostface in the next movie, there's kind of only 4 options, I feel like. I think it could be the daughter's mom and or dad,
sure,
right? Because dad left because he got cheated on with Billy Loomis. So the dad could come back and say, you fucking hell spawn, you took my other daughter from me. You're Loomis's daughter, you took her. So the daughter's dad could come back and be Ghostface.
Right.
The daughter's mom could come back, right? Because she cut Sam out for revealing the affair.
Right.
Even though she's the one who banged Billy Loomis. And then Tara cut her off for cutting Sam off. So I think the parents are prime suspects if they come back in the movie. And then you do this riff on generational trauma. You know, A24 movies are all trauma metaphors. So you could riff on that within Scream, which I think would be cool. And the 2 legacy characters we still have, Stu and Sid. I don't know if the Scream franchise has the fucking gall, the fucking audacity to make Sid a Ghostface.
I think that'd be incredibly stupid.
I can't imagine how it would work, but I would not discount it. The other one is in this movie, they said the TV that killed Stu Macher, and the other girl said, if you believe he died. Matthew Lillard has one of the highest approval ratings of any man on planet Earth.
I'm telling you, Matthew Lillard is having...
It's got to be Stu over Sid.
Yeah, Matthew
You
Lillard
cannot
is
make
having
Sid
a,
Ghostface, right?
Matthew Lillard is having a moment. You can't make Sydney Ghostface. What we gotta do is go to a sanitarium.
Stu and the mom would
where
be a
Stu
great
Macher-
combo.
where
Stu
Stu
Macher
Macher is just sitting
and
there
Billy
in a
Loomis's
padded
old
cell.
side piece, their mom.
Come on.
Those are my
Come
four
on.
I would put on the board right now. It would be mom or dad, number one, maybe a combo tag team. I think Stu coming back would be awesome.
You know,
The real fucking Hail Mary would be that Sid is so sick of it, right? That she
She's like-
survived so long that now I think that would be an embarrassment.
it would.
I don't see
just-
any
I don't think it
world in
works.
which that. I think
mean,
it totally disrespects everything about Scream.
Yeah, I think there's thematically
I don't think you
something
can do
about
the,
it that
the,
doesn't
the
work.
degradation of the final girl who started this epidemic, but maybe. Because this is
Well,
the thing. They're setting Sam up to be Corey from Halloween Ends.
Right, but I also
Right?
don't think that. Well, see that's
You
my
can
other,
switch
like-
that to Sid. And as we know, everyone loved Halloween Ends.
But I think that's the other thing too. Is like the Sydney is Ghostface thing.
I would be, honestly, I think, pissed. You'd have to fucking have a great... You'd have
I've
to do the
said
work
since-
for that one.
I've said since they started these up again, I was like, if they don't throw fucking Stu Macher back in this thing, we are absolutely wasting our time.
I think Stu and the parents... It has to be one of the parents.
I like the parents. The parents beat
It
is
has to be one of the
because
parents.
they haven't done a mom and dad killer yet. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, they did in number 2 as Billy Loomis's mom.
No, but it's not mom and dad. Not a
Right.
family
We
of
never
killers.
look at Sid, because we've had a mom and a dad. We never really dealt with Sid's parentage.
Right.
This one,
Just
it feels built in, because they talk about in the first one how she destroyed their family.
Right.
So it feels like an obvious next beat is that mom and or dad are coming back for revenge. If she used to fuck Billy, that means she was probably friends with Stu too.
Come on.
Maybe they find
on.
each other.
Come on.
He's nursed to health a little bit, like Michael Myers at the end of Halloween
I'm telling
4.
If we don't get a scene
Stu
where
and the
Matthew
mom would be
Lillard's-
my with a bullet
Matthew
guess.
Lillard deserves his moment in the
Chris
sun. where
Landon's
he's
first
sitting-
Scream movie, does he have the fucking audacity to put Sid in the mask?
I want to see a scene. I want Stu Macher sitting in a padded cell a la Anthony Perkins at the end of Psycho, and that being like Matthew Lillard is so good.
He's like the Hannibal Lecter of Scream 7.
Come on.
I
man,
just
why
want to see
not?
him again.
I
was
do
like,
too. I just
yeah.
love that character. I just want to see
I
him.
love that. I'd rather see that than another Gale.
Agreed.
Honestly, I'm to the point now. It's like, let's shed these legacies. I like the core unit they've got.
Me too.
Final thing we have to do. So yeah, mark that down. Stu and one of the parents. Final thing we have to do.
New
Final franchise rankings. We have to re-update them because we had them before.
Okay.
And I actually switched my order. I switched the list after rewatching them. So
Sounds
let's
about right.
start at the bottom. What's the worst Scream movie? And again, I like every Scream movie. So I'm not trying to
Okay,
throw fucking
this is the
haymakers.
thing. I was going to say, because I knew we were going to do these rankings, because I wrote mine down. There's absolutely no Scream movie that I haven't watched that I didn't enjoy. So this is literally like just a list of the movies that I enjoy in that order.
Yeah, we're ranking things we like.
Yeah.
This is like ranking beers. I'm like, they'll all get me drunk. I love it. All right, so I just actually tweaked my list one more time. I've got my final rankings in.
Son of a bitch. All right.
What's at the bottom for you?
3.
Scream 3 by far is the bottom.
Absolutely.
It's pretty objectively a misfire, but I
Mm-hmm.
like it because of the weirdness it represents in the franchise.
Sure.
All right, second to the bottom, number 5.
4 for me.
Okay, so this was where I was torn. I went 2
Okay.
because I think part 4 has a way better Ghostface reveal.
Mm-hmm.
So I flipped 4 and 2 from you.
Okay.
I like 2 also. I think 2 is great. All right, so is your 4 2 then?
You're asking me? No, my number 5 is 4. My 5th favorite Scream movie.
Okay, so you're going Scream 3, Scream 4. What do you have next?
6.
Scream 6, really? I have Scream 4 here.
That is, it's not a bad movie, but that ending really does
Wow.
sour a lot. For me.
It's the worst ending in the franchise. All right, what's your third?
5.
I have 5 here as well. Number 2?
Scream 1.
Scream 1?
I really like Scream 2. I said this when we did this originally.
Oh my
Scream
God,
2.
this is the most shocking reveal since the end of this
Scream 2 is awesome.
All right, so I have Scream 6 as the number 2. Right. I think this one is rivaling number 1 until the dog shit ending. But I think even with the dog shit ending, it's still just, it launches ahead of 5. Right. Because ran so 5 walks so this could run. Right.
For me, 2 through 4 of my rankings can pretty much change anytime.
Interchangeable. So then really number 1, I have Scream. I think that's inarguable. You have Scream 2 above Scream.
I really like Scream 2. I think it's an incredible sequel. Like to sequelize a meta narrative and for it to A, be that effective, and B, still come out. And this was like at the birth. You're not wrong. This was like at the birth of movie news too. So like it got ruined constantly. So Kevin Williamson had to keep rewriting the script for it to still be like reasonably effective as a movie. Pretty fucking cool. So
I love it. I would never have guessed that. I knew Scream 3 was going to be fucking...
Scream 3 is a foregone conclusion.
We knew that was going to be the bottom. I know it's the film hipster thing now to say that it's not.
Of course.
And again, I enjoy it. It's not the best. I would never have guessed Scream 2 over Scream 1 for you. I love it.
And who knows? Next year...
So mine goes 1, 6, 5, 4, 2, 3. Your goes 2, 1,
5, 6, 4, 3.
Love it. Love it. That's our final franchise rankings. That's it for the Scream franchise until it ain't. When Scream 7 comes out, you know your boys will be there. We'll be there to talk about it. And we'll update the rankings again and see if Scream 7 can surpass the titan that is Scream 2. We'll see.
It's fine. By the end of next year, it'll be Scream 1 again. That's all. Like, it
is, I think, with Child's Play, Scream and Child's Play have the highest quality per entry of any horror franchises.
Agreed. 100%.
Like, there's not a movie... I mean, Scream actually is even better than Child's Play, because Child's Play, once you start getting to, like, Cult and Curse of Chucky, they're not at... Like, they clearly have gone, like, straight VOD at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they both have really high per entry quality. I think Scream is, like, the new king of... There's not really a bad Scream. Like, Scream 3 is less than, but it's not bad.
Again, Scream is the pizza of the slasher franchises.
That's what I'm saying.
There's not bad pizza. There's just pizza.
Yeah. So we'll be back when we have more Scream to talk about. We'll be back tomorrow with another horror movie for you guys, because you know the deal. Every October here on the Film Alchemist, the October Mega Marathon, we leap balls deep into the abyss.
We make it a pods.
We make it a pods. We make it a pods all the time.
We make it a pods.
We make it a pods. We make it a pods. 31 days, 31 pods. So tomorrow I'll be back for yet another pod, another horror movie adventure. Check the schedules we have out. You can find what's coming up next. The best way to know everything about the show and have some authorship of the show, move us around like a super Shazam Ghostface, join our Patreon. Patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. We work very hard to try to make that awesome for the community. We try very hard to listen to our community about what they want to hear, what we can do to make the experience of the show better for them. And we would love for you to be a part of that community over there. So again, patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod, the YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Make sure you leave ratings and reviews wherever and everywhere you find the show. And if you'd be so kind, share the stuff on socials, but more specifically, send it specifically to your movie-loving friends. Let them know what we're doing and that we're out here, and we'll take it from there, guys. That's it, man. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for doing Scream with us again.
We love you. Bye.